Shall we start, right?
Yeah.
One second, because I cannot minimize. The windows. Maybe I can put over here like this. Yeah. All right.
And you will take 45 minutes for presentation, right? You will take the
Yes,
timeline.
today I will use 45 minutes. I will try to finish before that, but yeah, this is the limit.
Okay.
I will put the timer from my side. Okay. So thank you very much for having me here today. My name is David Sessi.
You are not sharing your screen,
Not
David.
yet. Why?
Not yet.
Maybe after recording.
Uh-huh.
Let's start again.
Yeah.
Now?
Yes. Now we can see your screen. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
We can start.
Yeah. So thank you. My name is David Sessi. I'm a software chief architect from Spain today to present the solution for universal safety. This is a company that currently generates the revenue by selling and installing security devices to protect the customer from fire and theft. They cover the entire process from the design, installation, monitoring, and maintenance. They are located in 150 offices in 15 regions, considering US and Canada. And with this project, the company is seeking to deal with the current bad integration and between the system, because the company grew by acquisition during the last 10 years. They have some work overhead for the users using the different system, and they are looking for a new streamlined solution over Salesforce. As per the numbers, I could identify expect to have more than 35 million of installed devices in 5 years. So handling LDB will be a key part of the solution today. Moving on to the system, to the external licenses for internal users. System specialists will receive Sales Cloud, as they need to take care of the installation process, the maintenance support. They will work as well with the customer, handling the first visit, qualifying the lead. Then for our support rep, I'm proposing Service Cloud, allowing them to work with the lead and providing post-installation support. They will be omnichannel users. For the different level of managers, I'm proposing here Sales Cloud and CRM Analytic license with the Grow version, because they need to oversee all the information about the services that we provide, as well as the maintenance, and they need to work with some LDB reports. For external contractor, I'm proposing CC license, giving them access to all the installation services. They only need to access to the information related with their services, so this license is going to be sufficient enough. I did consider CC Plat anyway, but not needed. For primary customer contact, I propose CC Plus license, as they need some advanced sharing, and they will be external delegated admin as well. And finally, for the secondary customer contact, they are going to have CC license, providing access to their own data. They will be able to submit and run some cases and track any issues. Moving on to my solution, system landscape. In the middle, you can see the single order that I'm proposing, following a business process unification strategy. With this approach, we are improving the global reporting and the collaboration. I couldn't identify any data residency requirement, but anyway, I suggest to be aligned with the corporative and legal team of the company to be sure that they agree with this approach. With this approach, we are improving as well the 360 view of our customers. Multi-language will be enabled, as well as multi-currency. Regarding the mobile strategy for internal user, I'm proposing the standard mobile app, especially for the system, especially during the visit. And for the customer, I'm proposing mobile publisher. I didn't identify any advanced Bluetooth devices features or offline requirements. So therefore, with this approach, we are covering everything. For files, I'm proposing S-File Pro as an app exchange solution that we can use to connect with a new box repository, because as per my number and expected volume of licenses, using Salesforce files will not be enough as per the expected volume of files versus the available amount. Moving on to the system, I'm using red color for the system to be replaced, especially the current CRM. We will use a new ETL solution that will connect to Salesforce using Bulk API 2.0, authenticated through OAuth JWT bidder token flow, and secure through mutual TLS to prevent impersonation attack. I'm also proposing a new enterprise data warehouse to archive the whole data as soon as it's not more operationally necessary in the system. This tool will be connected to the CRM analytics solution through a standard connector. Then, as you can see, I'm proposing as well an ESB solution, which is MuleSoft, to avoid point-to-point integration and to provide a secure access from the internet system to on-premise systems. Regarding authentication for internal user, we will connect with the current Active Directory with a new IDP solution, which is Ping, using a private agent behind the firewall. Ping will provide single sign-on through SAML 2.0 and Skin 2.0 for user provisioning the provisioning. Regarding the main clouds, besides Service and Sales Cloud, I'm proposing Service Cloud Voice with Amazon Connect as the telephony partners to provide support through phone. And then as the App Exchange apps, I'm proposing DocuSign for e-signing, as well as the X-File Pro that I mentioned. Let's move on directly to the data model. I am following the principle of less privilege, so let's assume all by default as private, unless otherwise mentioned. I'm using white color for the standard object. As you can see, I'm trying to maximize the use of the standard capabilities, then blue for the custom object, and finally red for the standard one. In the product catalog, I'm modeling all the different devices that we are installing. Then I'm using opportunity quotes as part of the negotiation with customers, and the order for the final purchase order, work order for the installation, contract for the agreement with the customer, asset for the different devices that we are installing. As we will see later, we also have some service contract for providing some SLAs. Finally, the case for customer support and the lead that I forgot to mention as part of the initial prospect qualification. Moving on to the business process, first of all, the company mentioned that the IT team have access to only one development environment and one test environment. So here, because of that, we need a strong governance model. So let me show you very quickly what I'm proposing. We will have some sponsorship at the top and a steering committee composed by a CIO and a program owner for global decision and prioritization. They will be supported by a center of excellence, which include a design authority to ensure the quality, security, best practices, and guidelines for the project. And then we break it down into three main pillars: business, delivery, and technology, with our CMO taking care of the business prioritization, the change management, supported also by a training plan. Then for the delivery, a PMO will be working with the project manager and the business analyst, organizing all the execution of the work, aligning the different work streams, as we will see later. And then for the technology and architecture review board for decision-making support, and the different architect and specialist to ensure the scalability and also the compliance with any regulatory requirements. With this approach, we also need to follow a new CI/CD strategy. I also want to share that now. And this is especially important, especially with the situation of the current IT systems. I'm proposing Copado for a source-driven development using a GitHub repository as the source of truth of our metadata, and then the different Salesforce environment that you can see aligned with the standard system. I'm only considering the one available, the dev and the UAT. Dev will be connected to our QA and UAT to our UAT. And as we will see later, we will execute the different automation by Copado for quality checks, deployment, validation, back promote, etc. I'm proposing hybrid methodology for the project, waterfall for the design and plan, and then agile for the delivery and the testing. Jira will be used as the tool for the backlog, tracklog, and the prioritization, and I'm recommending an MVP approach where we will plan everything and then we will share that with the SteerCo for an approval. I also identify a data quality risk, considering the overlap between different monitoring systems for a same customer. So we will define the proper dedupe strategy with the data migration, as we will see in a moment. We will register in Salesforce the external ID at the asset level by location. On the other hand, the company currently have different IT teams working with different separated geographically. So I assume that they also working with the law of autonomy. So I can foresee here a misalignment risk that I want to mitigate with the proper PMO strategy that I proposed before, and a Scrum of Scrum, and the Global Center of Excellence for global alignment. On the other hand, yes, here we have regarding the ERP, the situation for them working with the autonomy. So in order to mitigate this misalignment risk, again, I'm proposing the approach that I mentioned of Scrum. Then moving on to the current custom browser-based design tool that they are using, there is a situation where they are storing the PDF files of the design directly on the desktop of the system specialist. So in order um, to improve the situation, as part of our migration strategy, we will use some doc parsers to properly identify the different customers related with the document, and we will update that to Salesforce using Xfile Pro. Yeah. So let's move on now to the business process, requirement by requirement. The first one is sales and design. This is about our prospect customer reaching the company, and internally with the assistant especially trying to complete the qualification, the initial visit, and finally converting them to a customers. For customer, we will enable different channels where they can reach the company. The first one is phone. So we will use Service Cloud Voice with omnichannel queue-based routing. For the website channel, because we expect to have 5,000 requests per month. This is less than, we can assume that this is less than 500 per day, which is the limit of web to lead. So therefore, this is my approach. After the customer complete the form, with web to lead, we will create the lead, and then will be assigned with a custom metadata type and flow to queue based on the coastal pod. I did consider a standard assignment rule, but it seems like in US we can expect to have a huge amount of postal codes, so that solution is not scalable. Moving on, we need to migrate all the current prospects where they are not yet a customer on the ERP. So as part of my migration strategy, we will clean the data, and we will apply this logic to only migrate the no ERP customer to Salesforce. The support center rep should be able to see all the data on their geography except the customer financial data. Customer financial data will be a custom object, separate object, as you can see here. I also want to introduce the location. So as soon as we start working with a customer, we will start defining a project. For me, the project is the location custom object, assuming that for each location we will only have one design. And then around the location, we will have the financial data. The customer financial data will be private, and then for location, I want to define owner-based sharing rules with a public group by the three different geographies. So we will consume 3 of the 250 available sharing rules for lead, account, and contact. The support rep then will pre-qualify the prospect, completing a questionnaire. I'm assuming that the questionnaire is not that complex, so therefore we can use lead fields. I did consider survey in the future if the questionnaire is more complex. Then this user will schedule a visit for the system specialist. So I want to assume here that the support rep will be in charge after completing the questionnaire to receive an scoring, and if it's up to a certain threshold, they will decide to convert the lead to an account and contact, and then manually they will assign the account to assistant specialist, and an event will be created and notified by email to them. I'm assuming for this assignation a custom logic considering the region and the availability of the system specialist. For the initial visit, they will be able to directly use a quick action with an screen flow in case they want to make any changes for that visit. The support rep, the system specialist, and the manager will be able to report on sales activity. I want to enable a standard report that will respect the visibility model. The day of the visit, the system specialist will have a mobile app where they can take some pictures, videos around the locations. They will upload that to Salesforce. They will complete an estimate, and finally will send a copy to the customer via email. They also need to capture the GPS coordinates. So from the mobile app, the specialist will be able, through an Xfile Pro component, to upload all the files associated to the location. Then I'm also considering the option to create a new opportunity and also quote as part of the negotiation, selecting the different product for the customer. From the quote level, I'm considering here the standard quote PDF generation to send that to the customers. In order to collect the geolocation field, this information first of all will be stored in the location object. And in order to collect the information, I want to propose a Lightning Web component using the standard location service interface with the get current location method to finally store that information on the object record. The creation of an estimate will activate a process to allow the customer to access to any Salesforce data and view the estimate. So the specialist will enable the user a CC+. We can also automate that after the opportunities created and the quote. Because we are creating the PDF from the quote, that file will be also related to the location with a record trigger after save flow on the quote object. And then I also recommend to enable chatter around location where the customer can collaborate with the specialist. Back to the office, the specialist will create a design plan with the custom design tool. This is a tool that they have currently. I keep that as part of the current the to-be solution. I'm proposing Ping as the new IDP for this tool for a seamless login experience. My assumption is that they will manually generate any design tools, any PDF, and then manually upload that to Salesforce because I couldn't see any other statement regarding for a more complex integration or interaction with Salesforce. When the design document is created, especially will notify the customer to access this information via Salesforce. The customer then can collaborate with the specialist during this review. All the process will take place around the location custom object that I mentioned. They will manually update the files, they will put a post in the chatter, the customer will receive a notification, and through Xfile Pro, the customer will be able to access to all the information. Upon the quote status is updated, the customer will finally accept an estimate. From a record trigger after save flow, I want to send an envelope using DocuSign for the customer to complete the assignment process. We will use a template with merge field from the quote object. And upon the envelope is signed and the status is updated, I want to define another automation with a record trigger after save flow to create automatically a contract using the standard sales contract for the sales process to represent the agreement with the customers. All the design document currently residing on the desktop will be migrated. I propose for that the data steward, defining the templates and the framework to load everything in an SFTP server, use the doc parsers, and finally properly link to Salesforce. For the financial data, this information can be created from the mobile app. At this point, after they create the financial data for a location, we should initiate an approval process. So I want to cover this with a standard approval process for the location. Actually, here I put project is the location. And then we could have additional steps for additional regional manager approval if the cost is very high. For this value, we can define a custom metadata type to avoid any hard coding on the approval process. There are certain customers with multiple customer account and locations in an account hierarchy. This is the reason why I finally didn't propose person account for the customers because I'm proposing using the external account hierarchy. So you can see here the standard object for that. And the data will be shared with the customers via sharing set. In order to only allow them to modify their data and see their data. All the customer location and contact data from the ERP system need to be replicated in Salesforce. So we will consider that in the migration. Customers will make login through Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. I'm enabling 3 different social sign-on with 3 auth providers and a registration handler with the create and update method to avoid any duplicate. Sales managers team would like to simultaneously release all the solution for all the region in 4 months. 4 months is, in my opinion, nothing. So for this delivery risk, I want to mitigate the situation, selecting one region and then defining a phase approach with an MVP, where we will refine the backlog, we will receive feedback earlier in the process, and we will avoid working in the wrong things. Then those users will be CRM champions for the next regions. Moving on to the contracting and installation, the company works with contractor to complete the installation process. Contractor records are created directly in the proper ERP system and then should be created and updated in Salesforce. So I want to define here a proper permission over this record type with some validation rule to prevent any update. And with an ETL batch data synchronization daily, we will create the account and the contact for those users, and then an after-sale flow to enable them as CC users to avoid mixed DML operation. The system specialist could select manually a contractor for a customer installation, and at this point, the customer design document, all the estimates, the photo and the videos, and the collaboration space will be automatically shared with them. So the files will be automatically shared with the contractors based on the record access. And for sharing the record access, I'm proposing here, first of all, a button from the order to create a work order, and then there is a manual selection for assigning the contractor to the work order. This assignation will be via a lookup, so therefore we can share the information with the contractor via sharing set. I also want to define here a process to properly link the files to the new work order, so the contractor will have access to that. Contractors should be able to view and edit the data only for the customer location to which they are assigned, except for the financial data. So the financial data will be removed from the profile level, and in order to share the location, that will be shared with by a sharing set, because we have here two different lookups, one for the customer and another for the contractor. The contractor then review the customer document, collaborate with them, and as well as the system specialist. If necessary, the specialist review the document and repeat the process, sending for approval, the opportunity, the quote, and everything. Once the design is finished, the contractor indicate acceptance. So to collect this information, I want to enable a process where we will create a sales contract for the contractor to represent their agreement to work in a project. In order to link actually, I think we will reuse the same contract, but using contact role for the contractor for this agreement. Upon the location update with the contractor acceptance, I want to enable a dynamic action for the quick action to remove any option to update the record after that. Sales contract will be created. Actually, the contact record that I mentioned. We will send a document for be signed by the contractor with DocuSign, and we will store the file in Salesforce related to the contract. The system specialist should be notified of this process, and at these points, they can do a final review and finally place the order for the required device, material, and supplies. The order will be created in Salesforce and then synchronized to the proper ERP. So in a record trigger flow in the contract level, we will send an alert to the system specialist. The specialist can go to the offer, to the location, review everything, and from a quick action and a screen flow, they will see the summary, and finally we will create the work order that we mentioned a few minutes ago. And upon the work order is created, we will send a platform event to the ERP following a remote process invocation for and forget pattern in order to synchronize this information. Actually, I prepare a table for all the integration that we can see later in case you have any questions. So for this integration, the ESB will subscribe to the platform event, will execute another remote calling invocation to Salesforce in order to collect additional information. We'll send information to the proper ERP based on the location. And finally, We will update back to Salesforce with another remote calling invocation, the final status and the external ID from the ERP system. The detailed order data from the ERP will be accessible from Salesforce. The detailed order for me is additional data which the ERP is the master of. So we will not migrate this information to Salesforce. Instead of that, we will use the external object that you can see in my diagram, the tailored order related to the sales order. The last 3 years of sales order and service order data will be migrated to Salesforce, and they need to logically link all the records between all the system. First of all, I can expect to have here some LDB, so I want to mitigate any performance risk with the proper strategy. And then regarding the link between Salesforce and the ERP, we will do that through the ESB and also in the initial data migration with the proper dedupe process and assigning global IDs. So let me show you very quickly my LDB approach. LDB is really important because could impact the performance. So let's view reports, Apex queries, and could trigger any record logs or CPU time limit usage, especially for the devices which is asset in my model or the order line item as well as the work order line item. We expect to have more than 20 millions in 5 years. So in the short term, I want to be sure that the queries are selective using standard and custom indexes. I propose here some example as the asset ID, the serial number, owner ID, and the same for other objects. But anyway, I suggest to be aligned with the business stakeholder to check which fields are more important and common for them during the configuration of list views and report to be sure that we consider all of that in the indexes. And for the long term, I propose an archiving process to the enterprise data warehouse as soon as the orders are closed and after 3 years of perspective. The ERP system will update any status to the order back to Salesforce. So for those updates, I'm considering here a remote calling invocation through a webhook in the ESB. Once the order arrives at the customer location, the system specialist and the contractor should receive an SMS and an email so they can contact the customer to begin the installation. I'm registering this status update in a field on the order object. So using the previous webhook that I proposed, as soon as we receive the final status update regarding the shipment process, this is something that we can do on the order level. A work order and work order line item will be created. This is something that we can automate. And in a record trigger safe flow, we will send an email notification. And for the SMS, I did consider Marketing Cloud, but it seems like we don't have any other process or complex campaign or customer journey. So finally, I decided to propose a Twilio App Exchange app for a simple approach with a better time to market. During the installation, each device should be added to the customer location installation, and this process should automatically create a record on Salesforce for the device. So from the mobile publisher that I propose for our contractor, I want to enable a quick action with an screen flow from the work order. They will see the list of the assets list. My assumption is that the asset will be previously created from the ERP, which is for me the master of this information. So the asset will be already created, linked to the location, but still not activated. And then the contractor will be able at this moment to enable one by one. For that, we can enable a QR code scan or something like that. And from the screen flow, automatically, they will be updating the information. Once the installation is final, Salesforce is updated by the system specialist, and the final information from the installation should be sent to the ERP. So upon the work order is completed and then the status is updated, we will send an email to the system specialist. Then the specialist can check everything and finally update manually the work order. I want to propose another Fire and Forget pattern with a platform event via the ESB to update the asset data in the ERP regarding any update of the status, representing that is activated and so on, using the serial ID for this upsert operation. System specialists should be able to view and edit all the customer and installed system data for their own customers, except the financial data. So they will see and edit their own customer and asset. I want to introduce them as an accounting members. The asset will be shared with criteria-based sharing rule. And then, asset will be controlled by parent, so they will have access automatically. Yeah, for managers, we will grant access through the hierarchy. For a scheduled maintenance process, which is the next one, the maintenance schedule should be set by the system specialist when the installation is complete and managed by the support center after installation. On average, this process takes place twice a year, so from the work order, I want to enable a quick action with an screen flow to manually create the service contract for the customer to enable some SLAs there with one service contract line item, one per location. When the scheduled maintenance is 1 week away, the system should create a service order in the proper ERP system for the scheduled maintenance. So I want to handle this with a scheduled batch Apex job. We will create the service contract will have the next date. We will create a work order that will be routed to the support center using omnichannel queue-based routing, and then we will send to the ERP this information using the integration number 5. Once the scheduled maintenance is complete, the specialists update set from their mobile device, and the status of the ERP service order will be updated. They are looking for a real-time basis. So I foresee here a manual update of the work order from the mobile app, and then we will send via the ESB, this information to the ERP. Again, I mentioned Fire and Forget pattern because even when they request real time, they are not looking for an immediate status update or feedback to the users. So with a platform event near real time approach, will be enough. Moving on to the next process, monitoring and issue management. Issues can be raised from the monitoring system or created by the customers or from the support rep. Issues will be cases in my motto. For the issues arise from the monitoring system, there are currently 3 different systems that will continue working for any emergency services like fire or police, and they will be serviced from those systems. All the devices connected from the 3 different systems need to be replicated in Salesforce, and the company need to properly logically link all the records between the two different systems. And because we have data of one customer in different systems, my strategy here is to first of all dedupe the data with the proper registration style, and then we will assign an external ID on the asset object based on the location, and then on the ESB we will have a map based on the location to properly update any data to the ERP and to the monitoring system. I want to show you my data migration strategy where a data architect will work with a data steward, aligning with the different stakeholders of data. They will collect all the information in a staging database. They will clean, enrich, dedupe, and transfer the information to a canonical schema to be loaded in Salesforce with pull KPI 2.0 in parallel mode. We will also update the golden ID in the external system. We will use the recipe API to update the files to the box for the designs, and then box will be connected to Salesforce through Xfile Pro. All the history of data will be migrated to the warehouse, and then I'm recommending a phase approach with a final cutover during a weekend for a delta. For asset, we will migrate the serial number by location, so we will use that later to properly link and integrate with the different systems. In addition to the native notifications, the monitoring system can make a real-time calls when there are a specific special event. So I want to assume that the monitoring system can connect with the ESB, and then through a remote calling invocation, we will create a case in Salesforce. The company is looking for the fine report for a run live from the public website, showing the number of monitoring event and installation for the US and Canada. So all the different events and installation are cases and work order in our system. I assume that the website will be able to execute every day a query from the ESB to collect this data from Salesforce, and then this information will be cached. Let's assume, for example, a Redis database, and they will provide in the web a new component where we will define some JavaScript logic to proportionally increment the number to look like a live incremental report. This event should be also create a task in Salesforce associated to the issue for the support rep. So the cases will be created in Salesforce and routed via omnichannel queue-based routing using an OmniFlow. A new task will be also created and linked to the case. The support rep, the specialist, and the manager should be able to run a report to show the number of devices of device monitoring events for all the customers. Case will be private, and then the support rep will be the owner, and the system specialist and their manager will receive access to the with owner-based sharing rule, and we will enable a standard report on the case object for that. Issues raised by the customer contact. For customer contact, we should allow them to log into Salesforce and then create from the web or from the mobile app the new issues. So I propose a mobile publisher with social sign-on, and they will have the standard action to raise a case. For the devices installed at a customer site, they have a barcode, so the customer can take a picture and the barcode to identify the device and then create automatically the issue. So I want to allow them to do that from a screen flow with a Lightning Web Component and the bar scan standard interface where they will scan the QR code, and we will execute a query from the controller to identify the asset and then finally create a case with a lookup to the device record. Issues submitted in this way should be routed to the appropriate service rep based on the geography. So I want to define a case assignment rule to queues based on the geography, and then the skill-based routing based on the category of the device. If maintenance or repair work is needed, the support rep creates a maintenance task, which in turn will create the service order in the ERP system in real time. This ERP integration should provide immediate feedback. So I want to recommend here a manual work order creation. This information will be synchronized to the ERP following the previous integration that I recommend using platform event. Then I also assume another platform event where the ESB will publish any update. And the reason is because I don't want to have our user waiting to finish the initial integration. So I want to enable a Lightning Web Component in the work order page. At any moment, if there is any update, the user will be automatically in a kind of banner this update information real time. Customer contact should be able to run report showing issues and the status for all the issues. So we will enable a standard tab for them, assuming that this is sufficient enough. Issues created by the support rep. For customers that call the support center or for issues that are raised through the other channels, the support rep can create their cases manually. So I want to enable Service Cloud Voice. So the case will be automatically created. Actually, we will categorize the case with the IVR, and then we also can use the case classification. For other channels, I assume a manual creation. From this point, the maintenance or the repair work can be scheduled as I previously described, so there is no new process here. And regarding the numbers of the company, each customer will produce 20 issues per year that have to be tracked in Salesforce. About the half of this will require the work order for an unscheduled maintenance or repair. I did consider that in my numbers for LDBs. Managers should be able to run an ad hoc trend report showing the level of monitoring activity of the different periods of time based on the customer type, the geography, the type of the device. So I want to enable CRM analytics, collecting the the data from Salesforce object, creating data set, using the data received to finally standardize the information and create a final data set to be connected to a dashboard. And with this, I conclude my presentation. Let me check if I forget something. I think I already explained my governance for the DevOps I just want to introduce that our developers will start working in a developer environment where they will complete the developer, the unit test, and the peer review. We will merge in CI where Copado will execute the quality checks. Our QA team will focus on the main functional processes testing, supported by automatic regression testing using Copado Robotic. In UAT, we will complete the UAT and the seed testing, connecting to the external UAT system. For an end-to-end testing, staging will execute the performance and load testing, where we will validate everything before the migration to production, where we will execute some smoke tests. The hotfix environment will be connected to the staging for the proper testing of any quick fix before migrating to production. And then regarding the tools, I'm proposing Jira and Confluence for the backlog traceability and the documentation of the project, PND for the quality checks, for the code analysis, Visual Studio Code for our developers, Salesforce Data Masking for test data protection, and then Apex mocks and stuffs, as well as mocks API with RAML in MuleSoft as part of our contract first approach strategy to be able to test the integration before are available. And I think with this, yeah, let me just explain the one of the OAuth flow that I propose. In this case, is between MuleSoft and Salesforce, following an OAuth 2.0 JWT bidder token flow. MuleSoft will send an access token request to the auth server of Salesforce, sending us the assertion design JSON web token using RAM type JWT bidder. The auth server will validate the signature, the token claims, the authors of the users, and finally will issue an access token to MuleSoft. MuleSoft then will be able to consume any API using bidder type access token. As the main claim, we will use as the issuer the client ID of the connected app that we will configure for this integration, and the subject the API only user, integration user for MuleSoft. And with this, I conclude my presentation. Today, I think we define a proper solution ready to provide business value today and to adapt to the future. We will define the proper mitigation strategy for the risk and the LDB mitigation approach. And with this, I think, let me check. I didn't forget nothing. So yeah, yeah, I'm open for question now. Thank you.
Thanks, David. I will open the breakout room for the judges for a quick prep. We'll
Okay.
be back in 3 minutes here.
Three minutes. Okay. See you in 3 minutes. Bye bye.
Okay. David, you can start a timer for 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Hi, David. Thanks for your presentation. Just a quick clarification. You mentioned that for the contractor, the CC plus is not needed. Can you elaborate more on that statement for me?
Yeah, sure. For contractor, basically because they are providing services to customers, I'm linking any related record to them with a lookup, so we can share the information by a sharing set. There is no need to share data with any advanced sharing.
Hmm.
So this is my reason.
Okay. Also, you mentioned that the volume of the files, because of the volume of the files, you're going to store everything in a box. What are those volumes of the files and why cannot be stored in Salesforce?
Yeah, I forgot to mention that this is the expecting volume that we can expect, considering 2 gigabytes per each internal license, which is in total 3680. And then for the expected volume, I did consider an average, especially for all the opportunities where we can expect from our specialist uploading a lot of files. The scenario mentioned 100 megabytes for some of them. So therefore, yeah, it's going to be too much to store in Salesforce.
And then another question, since we are here, I can see that you used a bit of a blanket archival method of after 3 years. Why this strategy?
After 3 years, because there is a mention for, let me check, I think it was uh, the period and the projection of the company for some reportings. Yeah, there is a requirement to keep the last 3 years in Salesforce. Even when
Okay.
we have an LDB here, I think we can mitigate in the short term with the proper indexes.
Okay, thank you.
David, David, can you explain how to enable multi-currency and multi-language?
Yeah, I didn't mention that, so thank you for the questions. For multi-languages, we will use translation workbench as well as the custom labels. For Experience Cloud site, we will use the standard capability to translate the community. I didn't mention the timeline risk that I want to mitigate outsourcing this process with an external agency. And for multi-currency, because there is no statement for any advanced dated exchange rate, I will enable just the standard multi-currency and just uploading the exchange rate for the different currencies.
Can you tell me how to enable the current multi-currency from?
Multi-currency will be enabled from our admins, from the setup configuration. They will enable the multi-currency. They will define the corporate. In this case, could be the dollar from US, and then they will have the option to upload all the exchange rate. I assume that this can be defined manually in this case.
Okay, and for multi-language, how can you enable multi-languages for an experience site?
For the Experience Cloud site, when you are working from the workspace, you have the option to import. First of all, you can export a kind of template with all the different elements and labels for the community. And then you can import back this. If I don't remember, and let me be wrong here, I think it's based on XML files. So you can upload back to Salesforce the file with all the translations. After that, something we can do, but this is probably more useful for guest user, which is not in this solution. We can enable the language picker, but for this approach, because we only have authenticated users, let's assume that they will select the language during the registration, so we don't need the picker.
Okay. And in the sales and design, can you go to the sales and design?
To the what, sorry?
Sales and design.
The process, you mean? Sales
Yes.
and design.
Point number 1.
Yeah, number 1.
So here you are using custom metadata, right? Can you explain how are you going to use the custom metadata?
Yeah, first of all, I'm assuming that the current website will be updated for the web to lead form. As soon as we collect a new lead in Salesforce, and the out of the box option is to use a standard assignment rule. But then my assumption is that we need to assign based on the postal code, and we can expect to have almost millions of postal code in US and Canada. So this is too much for a standard assignment rule. My approach is to define in the custom metadata type the mapping between the postal codes and the different queues, and then using some logic in a flow to assign to the proper user queue.
Okay. And for the data model, why are you using location as a custom object and not using the standard object?
Yes, my understanding is that there are two different related location and location standard objects, but my understanding is it's only available as part of the workforce licenses, and in this case, I'm only using Sales and Service Cloud.
Okay.
When I say workforce, I'm referring to the field service license.
Yeah, you can ask, Avinash.
Thank you. So location is, we are capturing location starting from lead, right? So how location is when you are capturing lead, how you are capturing location?
I think we are converting first of all the lead and then creating the location.
So we are not capturing location at lead level.
For me, the location is not only a postal code. Obviously, the postal code or the address is something that we are collecting in the lead fields. But for me, the location is more like a project, right? For a specific location where we will complete information regarding the design, the volume of devices. If you can see here, we have a strong relationship with opportunity representing
Okay.
this design.
So the life cycle of location starts at the lead process or after
No,
converting?
for me, start after. So the lead is just the intention of a customer, of a prospect to start the business with us and to buy something. And we will create the location from the account when the account is created after the initial visit.
Okay. Another question around how you are going to migrate the existing file which are sitting on the desktop of a rep.
Yeah, sure thing. I'm proposing from our data steward to define first of all a framework, right? From a governance perspective, they will define the different steps and the instruction. The change control board will share all this information with the different specialists to say, hey, you need to follow these steps to put all your current files in an SFTP server. Maybe we can also share instruction to create improper folders following a naming convention based on customers. But after that, the data steward will review all the data, and if there is a need to use some doc parsers, they will use it in order to extract any ID from the documentation content to, later on create the proper link to Salesforce records.
As these files are associated with, account or location.
Account and location, exactly. So yeah, this is the information that we need to extract for this process because we are using S-File Pro. We will use the wizard that we have available, defining the proper business rules to say, okay, this is going to be the final target structure of folders in the box. We will migrate all the files. We will use the IDs of the customers and the location to then properly and automatically link to Salesforce records.
Yeah, account and location are private, right?
Yes, in my model are private.
And if they are private, then how you are securing those files, on that folder?
Yeah, in this case, Xfile Pro allows us to just inherit the visibility based on the parent records. Any user with access to location or to location or to the account will be able to see the files associated to those
Will they
records.
be able to see all files when they are on the folder structure from their machine, like where they are doing the
No,
drop
I'm
file?
not. I'm not giving access directly to Box. I'm only enabling an Xfile Pro component. So the only option for users to see the records, the files, will be through that component that we are enabling on the record page.
So they will be using Xfile Pro to upload their files from their
Exactly,
desktop.
exactly.
Okay. Thank you. Enzo, do you want to go next?
I'm just gonna stay a second more on these files. So what I'm not understanding is, so the user were used to store the data on their laptop, and we don't want this anymore, and have instead them having it in box and then connected to Salesforce. Okay, how we ensure that that will be done? Since
Uh, we are ensuring that by the governance structure, giving them instruction to do that from now on. They will be working from Salesforce. I mean, it's like the rest of processes, right? We are defining a negotiation based on opportunity, how we can ensure that a user is not using a paper and taking notes for the negotiation, sharing with them with the change control board. Okay, we will share the
okay,
training
but
program and the instruction, yeah, to do that.
in this sense anyway, you are making the user working in essentially two different tools. So first the design tool, then they have to download it, and then to upload in Salesforce.
Yeah.
Can you think a way to avoid this swivel chair?
Yes, I mean, maybe after the MVP, we can consider a more stronger solution, like, for example, evaluating if we can connect the design tool directly to the box solution through API, maybe via the ESB. This is one option. Even if we foresee in the future any request for having an interaction of data with Salesforce, Canvas will be another option. But for MVP and keep things simple, I think the manual swivel share process is going to be enough.
Then during the migration, the data migration, there is the mention that only the ERP customer should be not the non-ERP customers. Can you guide me how you're going to identify those, how that will be in detail done?
Yeah, sure. So the data steward will collect all the lead information regarding the files like the name, personal ID, phone number, email address, the same with the ERP data from the actual customers. And after that, he will define a script for deduping the information using not only exact matching logic, but also fuzzy logic, especially for the username, but because sometimes, the user in the lead form could put the information in a different way, omitting some letters. So with this fuzzy logic, we will properly link and identify, okay, this lead is already available in the ERP, and then we will filter that information to don't be migrated.
Thank you. And staying on the migration, you mentioned that your data migration will be phased. What type of phase is, or based on what? Phase on what?
Okay, so first of all, we have an MVP approach, right, regarding our rollout strategy, starting with one country. So we will migrate the data in this way, phase approach, country by country. And then regarding the MVP approach itself, I want to define a phase approach regarding different environments, meaning that we will start a testing in QA, then in UAT, and finally in stage with the actual volume of data before going to production. We will migrate the big thing of the data before the go live and a final delta in the last cutover period during the last weekend before the go live. So this is for me the phase approach that I'm proposing.
Okay. Billy, you want to go next?
Since we are in this data migration slide, can you tell me the type of data loading that you are going to do for each sandbox?
Yes, I didn't put here, but typically because as per my DevOps model, we are using DevPro for CI and QA, and then partial copy for UAT and full copy for staging. My recommendation is 10% in QA, then 20% in UAT, and finally 100% in staging to test everything in real condition.
Okay. And in the same slide, the DevOps slide,
Sorry.
so you have mentioned about performance testing and staging. Do you know what are is there anything to be taken care of for performance testing?
Something that we will do is to raise a case to search for 15 days in advance to be sure that the performance will be pretty similar and the scalability regarding production for a better realistic approach. And then we will use, as I said, a full copy environment with all the same volume than production. So that's it, at a high level, my approach.
Okay. And in the solution, which approach are you using, like buy or build?
Generally speaking, buy before build, you mentioned?
Buy or build.
Buy or build. Yeah, I'm following buy before build for a better time to market and scalability, especially, regarding the aggressive period that we have for the MVP approach. I'm following buy before build, like for example, introducing S-File Pro or DocuSign and avoiding any custom solution like Canvas or so on for any integration.
So how are you going to manage the scheduling?
The scheduling for what? For the maintenance?
Yes.
The scheduling for the maintenance, I assume that is nothing complex. It's only twice per year per location. So my assumption is that we will handle that with just the use of work order and the support of one custom object. I did consider other solutions like field service, but we don't have here a complex scheduling maintenance process or the need for dispatcher console or offline mobile app. So yeah, I finally discarded the field service approach.
So we had a requirement for field visit before.
Yeah, the initial visit, you mean?
Yeah, initial visit. Yes. So how are you going to manage that?
For the initial visit, let me check. I finished sales and design. Yeah, here. I'm proposing
Yes.
a standard mobile app where they will take all the information around allocation. There is nothing complex here. It's just uploading files, creating an estimation with the use of opportunity and quote. So yeah, it's a standard mobile app here.
Okay. And can you explain the process of capturing the GPS information for the location?
Yeah, for that I'm proposing, first of all, as I mentioned, during the day of the visit, we have first of all an event representing the day and the schedule. Then the user will create a location. From the location, we will have a quick action with a Lightning Web component. And using the standard location service interface that we have in Lightning framework, like in the Lightning Web component framework, we will automatically get the geolocation from the device. It's something that we can do just with a couple of lines of code. Even if the mobile is offline, it's using the mobile features, not the internet connection to do that.
And
But
is there
anyway,
any
sorry, go ahead.
And is there any particular setting in Salesforce that we need to configure?
As far as I know, I don't think so. I mean, we just need to enable the quick action, the Lightning Web Component. We will test everything for mobile, but this is like any other component. It's an interface available in Lightning Web Component.
Okay. Avinash, you can ask.
Thank you. So what is your mobile app strategy?
My mobile app strategy is to use the standard mobile app for the internal system specialist, mobile publisher for our customers, and mobile publisher for the contractors.
Yeah, and mobile testing strategy, like how you're going to test your mobile apps.
For the mobile strategy testing, I want to introduce, I think I mentioned the tool, but not the process for mobile. Copado Robotic Testing support mobile devices app using virtual clients from the desktop. So we can define a test suite where we will record all the different tests connecting to the different mobile apps and testing everything before the go live. Yeah.
Yeah. So in from which org you're going to connect, your mobile apps, or it will be multiple sandboxes or one sandbox?
We will assign different work streams to be sure that we meet the timelines, especially for the mobile publisher because we need to publish everything. But yeah, I mean, we will have different developers, sandboxes for the different work streams working on the mobile app. And then we will merge in CI everything.
So you will have a sandbox level mobile app on web and also in
Not
QA
mobile
environment?
app. Let assume one sandbox per developer. This is my recommendation to avoid any conflict. So meaning that if the work stream for a mobile app is composed by 3 people, we will have 3 different environments working for the mobile app.
Yeah, and where mobile app will be connected for testing?
For testing, let's assume that we will start testing end to end without any. I mean, for unit testing, we can do that from the dev environment. It's something that we can enable.
Yeah.
And then for Copado, automatic regression testing, I will start executing from QA.
Okay. And mobile app will be connected into QA, UAT, and staging all environment or just one environment?
My recommendation is to enable on all the environment to test all the processes. What happens if we have a UAT process, which is critically important for the business? As part of the UAT, we would like to complete that use case as well.
Okay. Thank you. Over to you, Enzo.
I have a question about the quote. So at first, I can see that you're sharing the quote record with the user, but then afterwards you are using, I suppose, PDF and DocuSign to approve them. Why this double approach and not just sharing a PDF with them?
Yes, I think first of all, finally I changed my approach. Sorry for that. At the beginning, I defined sharing the quote with the customers, but finally I removed that. Not sure if from every place, but let me explain the rationale. As you may know, right now we have the option to share quotes with CC users, but only when the quote is not related with opportunity. So after I realized on that, and because we are using both quotes and opportunity, I prefer to stay with the standard approach, which is just share the file, not the actual record.
Okay. Moving to the contracting and installation, which one was? Yeah, number 8.
Number 8 of the contracting and installation, right?
Yes. So here essentially we have the contractor that is installing the device and is authenticating the device, need to authenticate the device in the monitoring system, but at the same time automatically create a record in Salesforce. From your solution, I can see that you're creating that using a screen flow. Again, I'm feeling that the contractor has to use two different systems to do the job. Can you think a way to make the job only from one system?
Yes, actually, I think I explained this solution in a different way. Sorry for that. Let me think on my final solution. Yeah, sorry, my fault. You are right, the device is automatically connected to the monitoring system, and I'm assuming an integration from the monitoring system to the ERP through the ESB. So I prefer to, as you mentioned, assume that they have maybe a tool where basically they put on the device is automatically connected to the monitoring system. They will introduce some information, I guess, from the location and the customers, because the monitoring system is sending that to the ERP via the ESB. I want to introduce an orchestration from the ESB to update in Salesforce the status. But remember, my assumption was after the shipment process, when the ERP is defining the chip in order, I assume that we already have the asset, right, assigned to the customer. So why not creating the asset at that moment? My assumption is that we are here not creating asset in Salesforce, but updating asset. But let's assume, as I said, that we will update the status to reflect the activation through the ESB when the monitoring system connect to the ESB.
Okay. I think that instead in the part of the monitoring and issue management, can you tell me a bit more details about the point B, 1B, how the monitoring system will notify ESB?
Sure thing. So here there is a request to enable something in real time where the monitoring system will make a call when there are important events, and then we should update Salesforce, right, representing that information to rise and monitoring to rise this information in Salesforce. In order to create the case, what I'm proposing here is to enable an API endpoint in the ESB. The monitoring system will send a callout, including the device ID and then the type of the issue. And the ESB will create the case in Salesforce, properly linking to the device by the serial number. Yeah, so not sure if you are looking for any other point, but this is how it works.
Yes, going instead on the top to the current system 6A.
Current system here?
So yeah, the current systems, the system 6, the Active Directory, point A. I'm not sure you have covered this.
Let me read a little. When employees log in their internal network, they should be able to connect to Salesforce, including the linking, without having to log in again. Yeah, thank you for this point. I think I didn't explicitly say how I'm covering that. So let's assume that when they say internal corporate network, they are logging in Microsoft with an IWA, a Kerberos flow. So because Ping support federated service for having a Kerberos connector, we will enable that flow. So after the user is logged in Kerberos through the browser and they click in a link with following the deep linking approach from the IDP, we will use the Kerberos ticket to automatically generate the SAML response to Salesforce to complete the login using SAML. This is from the internal network, but we also have a dynamic authentication flow in the Ping configuration. So when the user is externally outside the network, we will directly enable the single sign-on SAML 2.0 IDP initiated flow.
Okay, thank you. I have no more questions. Billy?
Yes. In the sales and design, so point number 4,
Number 4 of the system, sorry, or?
sales and design. Sales and
Sorry, sales and design. I understood the same. Sales and design, number
point number
4.
4. So about the questionnaire, you have mentioned if the questions are not complex, store it in lead fields. If the questions were complex, how you would have been solving it?
Yeah, for a no complex questionnaire, I think field is going to be enough. This is my recommendation, at least for the MVP. But if that is not the case, or if in the future we expect to have a more complex form, I recommend using Salesforce surveys with feedback management, where basically we will define a template with the different questions and the scorings, and we will launch from a button a flow to associate to the lead a surveys response, and then we will have an scoring average on the lead object based on the answer of the questions to get the final lead scoring.
Okay. And I have one last question. Can you go to the contracting and installation? Point number 6.
Yeah.
Point number 6C. So here it is mentioned the last 3 years of sales order and service order data should be replicated into Salesforce. How can we do that?
Let me think. I mean, your question is just to how to physically load this data in Salesforce?
Yes.
For sales orders, I'm proposing, as you know, the standard sales order, and for the service order, we are using the work order. And regarding this period, during the data migration, we will filter based on the date of the activation for the order and for the work order for the execution. And what else? We will have the associated devices already migrated and the customers' data. And yeah, I mean, I cannot see any other issue on that. Not sure if you are looking or pointing to any other concern.
So how are you associating the sales order and service order data to this external object?
The external object, you mean the detailed order?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, sure. This is actually not directly related with this requirement. So for me, the last 3 years of sales order and service is something that we will register on the standard object. But for the
Not to the external.
the external object is for the additional data that we will only keep in the ERP, and we don't want to store that in Salesforce. Additional information, more granular, more lines that we don't have in Salesforce and we don't need it. And for this link, you mean the indirect lookup, right? We will use, as part of the migration, we will assign new external IDs. So basically, we will store the external ID in Salesforce, representing the source ERP. So based on that, we will define this indirect lookup.
Okay, that's it from my side. Thank you. Avinash.
Thank you. Regarding similar process, can you open LDV slide?
Yeah.
So sales and service order, we need to keep it for 3 years. Do we also need to, I think you mentioned your quote line item is also LDV. So do we also need to keep that for 3 years in cases?
I mean, I'm trying to consider LDB after 5 millions of records because the selectivity threshold doesn't increase after that, considering the
Yeah.
rules of Salesforce for the standard and custom indexes. But yeah, I mean, even for cases, because I obviously consider, okay, based on the number that I'm estimating for 1 year, in 5 years we have 30 millions. So yeah, I'm also archiving that information after. I put 3 years as a common policy retention, but I suggest from our Center of Excellence to review with the business users and the corporate and legal team to see if we meet the regulatory requirement and what are the preference of the business to have in Salesforce. Maybe we can archive in a different period. This is my initial recommendation.
Yeah. Do Mac support Kerberos flow?
Uh, what do you say? If support
Mac machine.
the Mac
Do
machine?
Mac machine.
No,
Yeah, the Apple machine.
my assumption was Windows. So I'm not sure if a Mac machine support Kerberos Flow. Probably not. But yes, or maybe
Okay.
there is an adapter. So my assumption is that they are not using Mac. They are using Windows. But this is just an assumption.
Okay. Can we go to schedule maintenance and then first? Can you explain it again?
Schedule maintenance. The first one.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me read. The maintenance schedule is set by the system specialist when the installation is complete and managed then by the support center after installation. And on average, customer location is serviced twice a year. So yeah,
It it says on an average it's twice a year, but there could be a location which can be once a year, or there could be a location which can have 3 times a year. So how you're going to handle those situations?
yeah, let me think because this is for the maintenance, and I remember that I already defined a maintenance plan here object. So from this screen flow, I forgot to mention that after the work order installation process is finished, from this quick action, we will update the status of the work order. We will create a service contract for some SLAs for the customers regarding the service, but we will also create the maintenance plan so they can select depending of the devices that they install it from the work order line items. And they can define what is the period for the maintenance process.
Yeah, thank you. And is work order associated with location?
Yeah, I don't know if maybe I forgot. No, it's here. Sorry, the location.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. That was all my questions.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. You can stop the recording, David, and I think we can go ahead with the feedback.
1 second, because I think I tried to hide the. Here, sorry.